so much for tuning in. My name is Amudu Jean Pierre, and this podcast is talking about refugee and forced migration. My guests here are all Rendezvous Youth Group members. We're going to discuss about some terminologies here and try to come to a live example of what is happening around us and see how we can qualify this. Is it forced migration or voluntary migration? Thank you so much, and I hope everyone here will enjoy the talk. At the end of the day, we will have some understanding or some agreement around forced migration and refugee issues. Everyone has introduced themselves, and everyone has said that they are refugees, and one person said they aren't a refugee, neither are they Ugandan, but they are here, not yet registered because they are intending to stay. So maybe there will have a question to understand. Maybe according to all of you who are here, when we say a refugee or someone is a refugee, what does it mean to you?
A refugee is someone who doesn't have freedom at his country or her country, manipulated, insecurity. So he can come to the second country to think that he can have peace more than
the country where they came from. Thank you so much, Salvatrice.
A refugee is a person who unfortunately fled his or her own country, her origin country, and then went to another country to seek for asylum, and that happens based on persecution that person got in his own country, based on different reasons. Maybe this person was persecuted because of his religion, ethnicity, political affiliation, any kind of discrimination that can happen to that person, and then see that the person is no longer have security to remain in his country, and then has to move to another country.
Anyone who has ever had a term called a forced migration or a forced migrant?
I did.
Yes, you can give us.
Okay. According to me, how I know forced migrant or forced migration. Forced migrant is a person, of course, who has migrated, as the term is talking about, who has moved from one place to another. Now, when it comes in as forced migrant, this is like you migrate not out of your will. It's an unfortunate incident that has happened that is causing you to migrate from one place to another. So, in simple terms, that's what I can call forced migrant.
And Esther, do you have maybe any other idea on a forced migrant or forced migration?
I think someone has said it all. A forced migrant is simply a person that has been forced to leave home under certain circumstances. It forced them to leave home and go to look for a safer place.
Okay, so now if you say that, does it mean there is also voluntary migration? Are there people who flee, who leave their place to other places voluntarily?
Yes, they are there.
And how can you differentiate the two?
Now, differentiating the two people is very difficult because at some point you'll find them all in one place and they're all saying they're forced migrants, maybe because they need help or they are looking at something which is going to benefit them later in the future. But then the other people who migrate voluntarily, for them they always have a certain aim. They're like, if we go to that place, maybe I'll get a good job, maybe I'll get a good life there. So they leave home, but not because home told them to leave, it's not safer than any other place, but they just wished to leave and look for a certain thing, I think.
If you chose to leave your home voluntarily, those are the people that we call economic migrants, whereby maybe I'm like, okay, in this country of mine, I'm not getting kind of education that I need, let me go to look for it somewhere. So maybe here life is not happy, it's not good. Let me go to start business this place, or I've got a job here, let me go to get a job the other side. So those kind of people that we call economic migrants. Then, now to the forced migrants, they are very defined by the UN, especially the agents of UNHCR. Who are they? Because there should be very convincing reasons why to call you forced migrants. That's why we have refugees, asylum seekers, IDPs, internally displaced persons. We have stateless people, all the deportees, returnees, all those people. They are very defined, and it's very clear. Now, when you don't fall there, definitely you are not forced migrants. You are economic migrants.
Okay, so according to Shalom, whoever is not a forced migrant is an economic migrant or a voluntary migrant. Okay, and I've heard you talking about an asylum seeker, you talked about an IDP, you talked about a stateless person. Those are, I think, are new terms. Then also a refugee, and also, yes, I understand a refugee has also had different definitions depending on someone, but you have also given some reasons. You have talked about persecutions based on religion, political affiliation. Now, I wanted to understand, okay, if we go out of the Refugee Convention of 1951, which was later supported by the amendment of 1967, I would want to get it clear. If someone maybe has an idea like Nelson, can we have a difference between now these terms, now one by one? An IDP, who is he?
IDP, internally displaced person. So I think let's first break down IDP, internal, so you're displaced. I think internal would mean that you are within, you do not move out of an international boundary. You keep within a certain international boundary to be in a country. But there are those international boundaries, those international recognized boundaries, okay? So you do not, while you're displaced, you do not get out of the international boundaries of this particular country. For instance, I'm going to give an incident that happened in Kasese, where some killings happened some time back, and due to that violence, it perpetrated some kind of displacement. But most of those people did not move out of Uganda. They displaced to other parts of the country. So you are displaced. If I tell you an IDP, you're displaced from, let's say, a particular district to another. An asylum seeker, this is a short period. This is a short period. Okay, I'm going to give this definition. I'm going to relate it to a refugee. Now, a refugee, while you move into a different country, here you're displaced, but you cross a border. You cross a particular international border. You get into another country, but asylum seeker is for a shorter period as compared to a refugee. A refugee can be for over 5 years or 10. and over, but for an asylum seeker, it is for a very short period of time, about months. Yeah? I'm not very certain of the cap, but the cap could be about a year. Yeah? But it is for a short period compared to the refugee status. Just to add on the asylum seeker, in most cases when new entrants, new displaced people get into a certain refugee hosting country, they are given that status of asylum seeker while they are new entrants. Just to recognize them that they are new entrants and they are seeking for convenience. So they give them that asylum seeker status or certificate to recognize that they have moved into this country, and we're recognizing them that these are new entrants seeking for convenience. Yes.
Thank you so much, and I think my time is about to get finished. So I have maybe to wrap this up very quickly so that we can go to the next step. The step here is we are talking about refugees and refugee as in whole, and forced migration. And here we have understood a lot of things. We have gotten a lot of terms, and everyone has shared. As we have said, there is no right and wrong answer. All of us are correct. We can only increase each other. But as we have said, we are the young people, we are the ones who are guiding each other, so we need to have information so that when someone comes to us, we know how to guide them. We have been privileged to have someone amidst us who is not yet a refugee. She has no identity yet. She has come in the country recently. She is not defined as a refugee nor a asylum seeker. She is just Congolese, and she is not willing to return. So we cannot know who she is as per now. And it is good now that we share that information so that she knows where she's falling. So Esther, you'll be interpreting so that she can get that also clearly. Now, we have seen the first thing is forced migration, as we said. Forced migration is when someone is pushed away from their residence. And all of us have shared the same thing. Like you are forced by a force beyond your resistance. It can be hunger, it can be rain, drought, it can be climate change, it can be war, violence, it can be discrimination, hatred. It can be a lot of things that can push you from where you are. Now, we have seen that this thing can push you from one area to another, from Kasese to Ndibuju. Now, because you have been moved to such a place, and we are finding that actually you become an internally displaced person. People who are displaced from Bududa because of landslide to Kiriandongo, those are internally displaced persons, but they are living in the refugee camp. However, there are also those people who are pushed beyond their borders. Now, people are in Ruchuru, and they have been forced to cross to Uganda. Now, these people have gone to seek asylum. So now, in that process to seek asylum, we call them asylum seekers. They are requesting a country to acknowledge them as people who are under their protection. And this protection is defined under the Refugee Convention of the 1951. Yeah, that is what said that you should protect everyone under your land that is defined to be threatened from wherever they are. Actually, at first, it was someone who is from Europe before 1961. Yeah, because it was targeting those people who are victims of war in the Europe. So it was categoric about the region, the geographic region, and the time frame. However, later in 1967, it was changed to now be, no matter where the person is from, no matter the time, they should be protected by the laws in that country where they are. Now, when you are still in that period, every country has the system they go through to accept someone. For Uganda, you must go through CID, that is the police department, where they screen you to know that you are not a criminal, you have not committed offenses, you are not being searched or looked for by your country of origin, so that they can take you to court. Now, if they find you are clear, then they understand why you are fleeing. They subject you to an interview. In many instances, they give you an interview to know your really founded fears of going back to your country of origin. And once they find that you are clear, they accept you as a refugee. So it doesn't matter the time you have spent. Yeah, they can accept you even after 1 week, or even 1 year, or even 7 years. You're still an asylum seeker. Yeah. So those people come from countries where war is imminent, like South Sudan and Congo. They get actually what we call prima facie status. Even in Burundi in 2015, they were given prima facie. It was known Burundi is at war. So anyone who came was given refugee status automatically. No need to interview them because the fear was visible. Yeah, but when you come like from Eritrea, from Rwanda, the countries are they are subjected to be peaceful. So they have to take you through an interview and understand really why you are not. These people even come from Israel, others come from America, from Palestine, so interviews must be there. Yeah, and then we talked about those are IDPs, asylum seekers, then commercial, economic migrants. Economic migrants, you have said these are people now who are voluntary migrants. These are people who have found themselves squeezed somewhere and they just want to go somewhere else to learn something new, to get new opportunities. That's what we said. Now these people have decided maybe to leave Uganda and they go to Saudi Arabia. So that because in Saudi Arabia they are looking for maids and I am able to wash clothes, then I should go there. Maybe they are looking for people to look after people with disability and I am a nurse. So in Saudi Arabia I stand chances to look after people living with disability better. So I will get better pay. Those are economic migrants if they decide to seek that status. They are no longer forced migrants. Okay? We have talked now also about stateless persons. Now these stateless persons are people who have lost citizenship. They have lost nationality. They don't know where they stand. Yet having citizenship is a human right. Everyone has a right to belonging according to the international human rights. Everyone has a right to belonging. Everyone must have a nationality. They must have a tribe. Now this person maybe was Ugandan. Okay, yeah, this person was Congolese. They have come to Uganda. They acquired Ugandan citizenship. Now the Congolese constitution says Congolese constitution says Congolese citizenship is one and exclusive. Exclusive. It means if you have a Congolese citizenship, you have lost any other citizenship you have. If you acquire any other citizenship, you lose the Congolese citizenship. So you are either Congolese and alone, or you're not. But you can't be Congolese and something else. Now, when you acquire Ugandan citizenship, it means you're losing the Congolese one. If I married her, according to the Ugandan constitution, I can apply and become Ugandan. However, when I become Ugandan through naturalization, I lose the Congolese citizenship. Now, if I beat her, and according to the Penal Code Act, my citizenship is supposed to be revoked. Maybe if I commit felony or a crime that amounts to something that can annul my citizenship. Those things like attempted coup, such things, terrorism. Now, when my citizenship is taken away, remember I lost the Congolese citizenship. Now, who am I? I become stateless. Now, those are the people. Now, those people also fall under the umbrella of the UN Refugee Agency, that is UNHCR. They're supposed to be protected under the same umbrella. You get now, yeah, as a refugee, they fall under that umbrella. Now, and they deserve also protection. So those are the terms I think we are talking about. Stateless person, IDP, economic migrant. Now the question was, can we see that difference between a voluntary migrant and involuntary migrant? According to the definitions, yes.
Well, in simple terms, voluntary, it's out of your own will. Involuntary, you're being forced to do such. Yes, in simple terms.
Okay, I'm going to answer that basing on an official talk that we had at my reception there. There are some countries who have migrants in other countries, yet those countries do not have those internationally recognized causes of migration. Okay? Now, like a country like Ethiopia. Ethiopia is not internationally recognized as war-stricken, but it has migrants in other countries. Now, when you go and find Ethiopians in Kampala, they are not necessarily refugees, but in most cases they are economic migrants. They move and go to other countries in search for that business opportunity. So, in case I am faced with that decision, if at all I'm faced with that decision to make whether I should offer an Ethiopian refugee status or not at an expense of, let's say, a Congolese. I would offer a Congolese refugee status before an Ethiopian, because for a couple of times, Ethiopia has not faced war as compared to Burundi. Okay? So as compared to Burundi or Congo, so I would offer Congo a Congolese refugee status before an Ethiopian.
What if all of them have that opportunity, but now you're going to decide what is that now you're going to see which is going to, or do you think the line is thin, it's invisible?
One, I think after screening, you could screen the candidates for this refugee status. Out of screening, probably you could measure and offer, because in most cases, refugees, actual refugees, will have a certain story. You can tell from the story of the happenings, the previous happenings, and you could grant refugee status. In instances of lying, it is possible that they could lie just to secure themselves the status. That's when I could get to your argument that the line could be thin, and you may not be able to tell who deserves this refugee status and who doesn't.
When you look at these Karamojong girls on the streets of Kampala, do you think they are voluntary migrants or they are forced migrants?
Some were forced and some were not forced. Those who are being forced, maybe they might be coming from their families, or maybe the situation within the area they are. And then there are those who come in depending on, maybe they're like, let me just go to Kampala and see how things are. And then they end up becoming street kids. So I don't think most of them are voluntary. Most of them are voluntary because they come from the other side to this side specifically to explore what is within Kampala. Because they think Kampala is more beautiful than the other side where they are. And then this other thing, actually, they also come in this other side because they feel that they are being forgotten somehow. So they come in maybe to look for some person.
To my judgment, an economic migrant is voluntary. Largely, they are voluntary. They are economic migrants. So, in most cases, they move in search for that opportunity, that business opportunity. You get me?
Let's go to Karamoja question. We have seen them on the streets of Kampala, and the cabinet seats, KCCA comes, bundles them, they put them in a car, to try to take them somewhere, and then within 1 week, all the children on the streets of Kampala. To your observation, do you think these Karamojong children are voluntary migrants or they are forced migrants? They are forced to be on these streets, or they're stubborn, just they want to be there?
I think now for that case, it could be quite different, but I'm going to answer it in a two-way. One is that their situation in their home area could force them to migrate. But again, they migrate voluntarily. They move voluntarily, but they are forced. Right? Because you can be forced and not move. Even if Rwanda is faced, or let's say Burundi is faced with war, some people do not move, but some move. So that is why I'm saying that they are both voluntary and involuntary. Like they can, the back at their home, the situation may push them to move. Some are going to voluntarily move. That is why they come. And in most cases when they come, that is why you see them mostly on the street. They do not come to make, because when a refugee gets into a certain country, they strive as much as possible to make a living like a nation. But when most of these Karamajong kids come to Kampala, they are on the street. Some of them, most of them engage in criminal activity, and that is why the government has taken it upon themselves to get them off the streets, because there is a way they do not create that city image. When they see them on the streets, there is a way it distorts the image of the city that Kampala is. Yes.
Actually, I wanted to say these people, they actually, most of them, they don't endeavor to look for something to do. They just be on streets specifically to ask for money, because they were taught and they were told they will be given money through sympathy. So they don't endeavor to look for, maybe because there are some other refugees like the Somalis, they endeavor so much to put up something that could at least sustain them.
We have seen all these differences now on forced migration and voluntary migration. And someone has said, actually you can be forced to leave and you don't leave. In just 1 week, last Saturday, is when trucks started going to Karamoja to distribute food. That's when the first truck distributed food. But the food was there by Thursday. And that was after over 50 people had died of hunger in Karamoja. Is it true that these children really wanted to live after their people, their parents, were dying with hunger? So there someone is having a pistol on your head and they're saying, you resist, you are shot, just let me rape you. You just say, I don't want to die. The person gets his way. Did you have a willing sex or you were raped?
I was raped.
You were raped?
Yes.
So
because I was put on a gunpoint.
you were put on a gunpoint.
So I'm not deciding for it because I really wanted it.
Okay.
But I'm being forced.
Okay. So with Nelson, that person who is facing very dire challenges at home, and if they stay there, they are going to die, and they are feeling like, no, let me die moving. I need to go the other side in Kampala. Even though they sleep on the streets, they will rape me at night when I'm sleeping, because these girls are not safe in the streets where they sleep at night. They know they will be raped. They know they will fall sick. They will not get someone to take care of them. They would like to watch TVs. Their children, by the way, also would enjoy these games on TV. They would enjoy. They would enjoy waking up in the morning. They have bread and butter. They would enjoy to have milk tea. They wouldn't hate to be put in cars by their fathers and driven at school in the morning. Do you really think these children are enjoying on the streets? They are stubborn.
I think one, they should know that for the time they've been in those streets, what they are doing cannot get them that. Never will it. Secondly, the example that you gave first about rape, it is a bit out of context. Because when you are put on gunpoint and you have to deliver, it is either you delivering or death. Now, for a case of a refugee, trust me, I've never been a refugee. Okay, I've just started encountering refugees, right? But I'm very certain there are those that stayed in your countries and they survived.
True.
Right? True. So here, when you say that a gunpoint and deliverance, right? You either deliver or not, you die. Now, for a refugee, it's different. I can stay in my country and survive. It is very possible, right? The other thing is, we also need to interest ourselves of where do these children go after dark. We also need to find out if at all it is not a show. It is because the government has in most cases tried to make us realize that there is a certain tycoon somewhere who is taking advantage of these disadvantaged children on the road. So we also need to interest ourselves into the discussion of what exactly gets these people on these streets. Because it is not an easy task moving from wherever you are up to Kampala, very hungry, vulnerable, psychological distress, all those forms of health distortion on you, and you move from Karamoja up to here and get on a street where I'm very certain the times I personally, I'm a very compassionate person by the way, but the times I've given that kid on that street something, are very few. But this morning I gave my boda man tea. Why? Because he has gotten out of that comfort zone and is trying to make a living. In most cases I find him, out of coincidence, he has I've ridden on his boda for 3 consecutive days. So I was moved and I had to tip him. But these street children should know that being there will never get them all the nice housing, the posh cars, and the nice life that you say. Anyone would want it, but that activity will never get them that. But the Somali who is in Chikubo, I would feel very happy tipping that Somali.
And here we were talking about getting the difference between a refugee, a forced migrant, a stateless person, an asylum seeker, and a voluntary migrant or economic migrant. We have gotten that difference. We have tried also also IDP was part of the word, right? We have tried to understand how does this come, how do we make the difference, what should we do in these cases. We have tried also to bring the Karamoja scenario in the context to see how does it fall in this forced migration and under displaced thing. And I think we are going to close this chapter by asking what should be done, what do we suggest to counter or to put an end to forced migration. We are not going to go very far, okay? We are going to stay here where we are, taking into context what we are living now. In Karamoja, people are dying of hunger, right? And in Kampala, we know there are people who are hungry. And we have children on Kampala streets. We have people from Somali, from DRC, from Burundi who are also on the street, or who are on Kampala. The majority of us have said they are trying in the trenches, trying to find something to eat, not being on the streets. But now, these young people in the Karamojong community, because they are young as us, some of them are younger than us, they are already engaged in sexual activities, some of them already have children. Is there anything we can do maybe to people like them? Maybe today these people are from Karamoja, tomorrow they will be from Bojegojo, maybe tomorrow they will be from Masaka, maybe from Mobele, from Kakumiro, from Ajumani, from I don't know where. What should be done? Let's look at the youth. Who should do what so that we don't have the challenges of forced migration, of people moving from Karamoja, it is very far, to the streets of Kampala. They have not come to work, they have come to sleep on the street.
Many people just go anyhow because they are not mentored, or they are not shown the way to go. You're supposed to go left or right. You see us the way we are,
today if we did not have parents or guardians or elders who didn't show us what to do, would also be like them. So they just need a person to sit with them and make them and show them the way, how life is, what is supposed to be done. Begging is not the solution. Begging will not get you everything that you want. So as us, I'm talking as us here because we could go there because I'm sure they don't know English. If they knew English, they would be working and then also seeking for jobs. So they are there, they don't have any skills. They don't have any skills at all. They don't know English. What they only know is their local language. So we could look for a person who is a Karamoja, they call them Karamoja, who knows English and then their local language. We move with that person. We have a group of them. They're already seated, children seated in groups. We look for the elder ones, their mothers or their brothers. We sit with them in one place and then we elaborate things to them. We show them the way to go, we mentor them. This is how things are supposed to be done. This sleeping outside like this is not the solution. And with such kind of person, you're talking to a needy person. You don't have to just speak. You must also assist with something.
Supplementing on what they say, she said that those people, they know their local language, they don't know English, but I would like to say that there are so many who knows English, but to the fact that they are used to that life of coming, they gain money by asking for help. But I think if we had a person or those people who train them that there is a good life, not that one of go and sleep on the road and be asking. And as she said that it is better that we train them, we give them some skills. It is very helpful and it is a good idea. But my question will still be, how are we going to train them? How are we going to give them those skills? Because everything, before you give, you have to be having that thing. Are we skilled enough so that we can skill others?
These are nomadic persons from where they are. In fact, they even don't have permanent households. They are always moving. With their cattle, they're just nomadic. It's just a nomadic way of life. Even when they come anywhere, I think they're going to move with that culture to any other place they will go. They're going to be nomadic as long as they live, because that is their culture. So however much we can devise solutions to what we think is a problem to them, in fact, we need to ask them, is the livelihood a problem? Is their livelihood really a problem? Because not all Karamajongs are on the road, by the way. But you're going to realize that small kids, and a few are on the road. But there are some Karamajongs that are skillful. They go out to make crafts. Have you just seen Karamajongs hawking crafts? I've seen Karamajongs working. Some are working, yes. But in most cases, you're going to realize the patterns of those on the road are young and female. Young and older females. So we also need to ask if So we also need to ask if their lifestyle is really a problem. Yes. So it's that one. So we also need to ascertain whether their lifestyle is really a problem to them. Could be a problem to us, but it may not be a problem to them. Then that's when we can set out to solve in their own, in their way that they think they should be helped. So their lifestyle may really not be a problem. So we also need to set out and realize what are the exact problems.
I also think finding a solution to a problem, it is better if first get to know that problem. What is exactly forcing them to come to the streets? They might say they are looking for food, and there is another problem. It's first we first look for the problem.
And
Then we get the solution.
and whoever is taking advantage of these groups of people is really at it, because he really targets those that are vulnerable, easily vulnerable, right? The female and the children. So we also need to understand that pattern. There are very few older male that are on the road. They are not, in fact, there are very few.
Do you think maybe we are talking about the Karamajon issue? Do you think maybe because Uganda has, I know it has some laws that are protective against human trafficking and exploitation. Do you think maybe there are those people who should be engaged, who should take up such real issues and maybe try to pursue those people in the court of law, those who are taking advantage of the vulnerable groups, so that maybe this issue is battled?
What I am going to state that the offices to take care of all these issues are there. Get me right, the offices. But we do not have the officers. We don't have the officers to take on this responsibility. And I am also going to state that in most cases, all the causes of IDP in Uganda are political. So, while we really want to help, yes, and I think, while you state that there are legalese, there is legalese in Uganda to take care of all these problems. Yes, there is, and the officers are there, but there are no those I should call them keen officers to take on this responsibility.
So the evolution, like the willingness.
Yes, the willingness and the political interference.
Okay. Thank you so much for being a good audience. We have just completed with the first refugee and forced migration. And the case of Karamoja Affair had to come in as a part of the forced migration. We are trying to understand if the people of Karamoja in the streets of Kampala are as a result of forced migration or voluntary migration. Thank you so much for everyone who has listened to us. My name is Amudu Jean Pierre, and here we are talking about refugee and forced migration. Thank you so much to have been a good audience, and this attention you have paid to the youth of Rendezvous Youth Group is something we cannot take for granted. We welcome you again next time. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. The name is Amudu Jean Pierre. Thank you so much. God bless you. Till we meet next time. Ciao.